So thank you for joining us at our Facebook Live session on women and the future of work. So I am joined here with Bitseat, who is a programmer and researcher at iCog-Labs, with Molishree from Niti Aayog, and Sanchaita, the founder of Sana and member of the BJP. So I would like to just start by asking you, what do you think is needed to bring more women into the workforce? So this remains sort of a key challenge today and presumably in the future. So how do you foresee bringing more women into the workforce, and what role do you think the digital economy can play in achieving that?
Thank you very much. To bring more women into the workforce, I believe first we need to consider three trends that are shaping the future of work. The first is, I believe, that it's globalization, and the second is mobility, and the third is your communication. So when I say globalization, the world is becoming into one giant city. So anyone with a skill can work anywhere. So this is a good thing. The other thing is mobility. We don't have to be at some place to work for something or to be an employed person. So that's also a good thing. So to come straight to your question, to have more women into the workforce, jobs should be mobile, flexible, and just search for the right skills so that women can participate even if they need to stay home or, I don't know, if they fit to some other countries.
Thank you so much. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a big believer in the theory of change, which always says, that we all have seen in our days that, our society, our inspiration, our universe, we ourselves are moving faster ahead than any of us. So, we should have this very much clear conception in our mind that women are not just oriented towards their home, they also have a skill set that can be utilized somewhere else. So, saying this, why I'm saying, because we have nearly about 163 million, women entrepreneurs across the world. And in India, we have a very minuscule percentage of that is only 14%. So how can more women join the workforce is a very, simple question, but I would say it has a very complex answer, because there are a whole gamut of things that need to fit in right to provide these women a secure, secular space to go into the workforce. First is education. If women are not educated, if they don't know about the different things existing in the market, they cannot make a uniform choice. So that is the first concern that you should address. As a nation, everybody should address about the education. Second is about the skill set. If women do not possess the desired skill set, even if their availability in the job market will not actually improve the overall participation rate. They will be inefficient, they will not be able to provide a quality product to whatever they are working on. So that is my second point. And third most important is, we need to shed biases from our minds. At home level, at family level, still there are apprehensions that women should not go out and work. Girl child should not be educated. So those concerns need to be addressed, foremost, if you have to bring women to the workforce. And the fourth most important is that your employer or your company or whichever organization you're working for should be able to provide you a secure environment to work in. That's my answer.
Well, I agree with all that both of you have said. And I think that for me, the most fundamental thing that's holding women back from joining the workforce is perhaps lack of access to safe water and sanitation. I think that is the building block on which you can have anything. If you talk about education, for girls to stay in school, if they don't have access to safe water and sanitation, there itself is the first hurdle they face. Or if they're out on the workforce and they don't have access to a safe toilet, their mobility goes for a toss. So, these are very, very basic things, but I think women are as given the opportunity, given this level playing field, women can do as well as men can. But it's just that the very basic things of things like water and sanitation, which are so fundamental to any kind of inclusive environment, need to be addressed. And I think that as a country in India, we are attempting to do that, but it is a long road ahead. And once we have that in order, I think automatically many other things will improve from there. So, I mean, that's something that I believe.
Great, so thank you for that. So, when we talk about the future of work, one of the things that we often talk about is sort of the emergence of new formats of work, right? So we have the gig economy, we have freelancing, we have, increasingly we're talking about entrepreneurship as sort of a solution to the jobs crisis, right? In a lot of countries, we're talking about, women's entrepreneurship as a solution to a lack of, available jobs. So how do you foresee sort of this access to jobs in the gig economy, in sort of non-traditional types of jobs, playing out in terms of sort of gender equality and equal outcomes in the labor market?
Okay. I would like to start from the skills which are required to be competent in the workforce. As I mentioned earlier, the first is the skill, and the second is mobility and flexibility, and the third is being tech savvy. So being tech savvy, I want to give more explanation regarding the technology, because technology is making things more easier. So technologies like cloud computing and collaboration platforms, such things are making us or enabling us to work from anywhere. So to come to your questions, technology is playing a major role. So women need to have both the skills and access to technology so that they can do what they want to do. But speaking for my country, Ethiopia, women are not having the advantage of both accessing and having the skills required to use technology equipments or devices to support their work. So I believe we need to work on women in lower grades or kids to be more familiar with technology, with using computers and teaching themselves by themselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, for asking a great question, because this is something which is very close to the area which I work in, and this is very close to my heart, women in technology. So, as I have given you these statistics, this is also a clear-cut fact that across the world, many things have been done to support women entrepreneurs and to bring them on the forefront. But we at Niti Aayog, that's called National Institution for Transformation of India, so we are actually leveraging this technology to help women entrepreneurs. Because starting up a business in anywhere, any part of the world, and specifically in India, is not just one person's decision, and especially not when it's a woman. No, you have to convince your family, you have to convince your extended family that you are going to start a business. And everybody will have their own areas of what is the risk involved, what is not, it's not involved. And approaching the venture capitalists for fund, approaching, the ladder of buyers actually starts from home and move to these venture capitalists who think that women should be domiciled in a few sector. There's only a few sector, stitching or the MSME kind of sector where women should be oriented. But there are other, time has changed. It is not 10 years down the line when Amul and Lijjat Papad used to be only women-dominated business and industries. Now you have women, they have traversed their fields, they have spread their wings, and they have moved into sectors like robotics, artificial intelligence, frontier technologies. They are coming up all with this new product. So this was all the thinking in mind when, the Global Economic Summit 2017 took place in India, in Hyderabad, and it has an overarching theme of women first, prosperity for all. I think that changed the game for the entire nation. Why? Because you had, collaboration of investors, educators, political leaders, bureaucrats from across the world at one platform in Hyderabad. And they all discussed this concern that what is it that is holding women back? And they are not coming in the forefront. So what they did, and Mr. Amitabh Khan, CEO Niti Aayog, he said that why not, if women are facing so much of concern, why not come up with a women entrepreneurship cell? And that should support the existing women entrepreneurs as well as the upcoming women entrepreneurs to scale up and start up their businesses in the country. So at Women Entrepreneurship Platform, we actually have 5 verticals and maybe a compliance vertical if you want to register your business, but you don't know how to go about it. You have to file the tax return. You don't know how to do it. Then, marketing your product. You have no idea. You have made a product that is lying at your home, but you don't know how to market that product. So these are the kind of things that we take care at the Women Entrepreneurship Platform. And what it is, we have a set of partners who are experts in these fields. Other said, we have our users, whom we call our women entrepreneurs, and we have to exactly do a matchmaking between the two. Your need and my support, both have to be together. So we have actually leveraged technology for this purpose. Our entire platform is artificial intelligence and machine learning enabled, and also we have chatbots, we have SMSs, we have new integration where automatically your desire and my support will be matched together. And I will be, if you are a seeking women entrepreneur, you can come directly contact me and I can give you the kind of support what you require. Based on certain criterias which I have or the eligibility issues that I have. So we in India are actually leveraging technologies to sort out these problems which were behind the doors. So that's my answer. Thank you.
And yeah, I mean, I agree with all that you've said. Like we went from no phone to mobile phone, I feel technology can be that incredible, thing that we leverage to create social impact and ensure that those who are left out of the conversation can be mainstreamed. And technology doesn't see any bias. It doesn't see gender, it doesn't see color, it doesn't see the language you speak. It's the people who use that technology who can use it to either include people or exclude people. I'll tell you about the work that we do. We work in water, sanitation, renewable energy, and agriculture. Traditionally, one would think that these are areas, especially in water and sanitation and renewable energy, that you need to work largely with men. But in over 40 villages, we have trained women who operate and maintain the entire plant and machinery. These are women who are first-generation learners. They haven't gone to formal schools or education, but when we've trained them, they've picked up the necessary skill set and are able to do this very, very successfully. So I feel the technology, in fact, is an incredible platform for us to ensure that women are part of the conversation and we do away with gender justice. Of course, these are things that will take time. But, like you look at the incredible success story of Infosys in India, while all of us think of Narayan Murthy, if you go back into the history of Infosys, it was Sudha Murthy who was the incredible coder, who was actually the backbone. Then she personally decided to take a back seat and say, okay, let Narayan Murthy go ahead. But these are biases that we face as a society. Technology cannot be blamed for this. In fact, technology can be used by all of us to ensure that we overcome these biases that we have as a people. Because, the bias is in our minds. It's not in that mobile phone that comes to your hand. It's not that women can't become solar operators. We've done that. So, if a small organization can do that and ensure that it's been successful, it's working on the ground for the last 7-8 years. I had, in fact, one of an officer from Delhi, he said, I want to come and see what you're actually doing on the ground. And he came and he said, I want to meet one of these operators. So he went to a village called Gullepalli, which is in Andhra. And he said, I want to meet her and I want to have a chat with her and find out, does she actually know what she's doing and can she do this successfully? And he interviewed her and he grilled her. She came out with flying colors, there was no hesitation. And he knew the local language, so that's how the conversation happened. But I think men and women, it doesn't matter, none of those things matter when it comes to technology. And I think that's something that we should leverage in whichever way we can. It's an incredible opportunity, I think.
So in my conversations with people and through my research, what I found is one of the sort of key solutions that people sort of offer up is skilling, right? So, with the technological transformations, with the emergence of new types of jobs, with the need to bring more women into the workforce, a lot of people say what we need to do is provide people with skilling. And of course, India has a huge Skill India mission, which is something that we also see in the United States, is this sort of drive to skill people. To what extent do you think this is the right approach? Have you seen this, skilling work? Or what are the major constraints to that approach that you see?
Okay. Thank you. It's because I'm not that close to that area, so I can't say with confidence that we are working into skilling women. But what I appreciate about Ethiopia is that women are supposed to be home. We grew up in the notion that women stay home. They don't go to or join the workforce or be leaders and things like that. But after our new Prime Minister has been elected, there is a big change which inspires every little girls. We have the first president of Ethiopia, it's a woman, and there are a lot of women participants in the parliament, and there are different women ambassadors located in different countries. So this inspires kids into thinking that women can do more, and anything can be done. So even if it's not a skill, showing this to the coming kids will inspire them to do more, to become a better leader, to become good at what they are doing, instead of thinking that they are only supposed to be home.
So in India, we have started thinking about skilling as one of the major things that any of the individual should possess when he or she is looking for a job. Because as I said earlier also, if you don't have the skill, the market will not reward you, not according to your expectations. So we have an entire ministry in India dedicated for skill development that has taken up policies and has made up very much advanced methodology of the skilling women specifically, and the informal sector workers, so that when they go into the market, whatever is the efficient, and they are actually rated in the scale of 1 to 10. So whenever you go in the market and you have a particular rating, so that means your pay level should be accordingly. Nobody can actually exploit you, get work done out of you and pay you lower money. So if you have a proper skill set in hand, that can actually be pay forward. And specifically for women, there are many policies existing as of now, but one thing that needs to be done now is that we should not leave these people who are skilled, just to skill them, train them, leave them. No, that should not be the approach. The approach should be skill them, train them, get them into a job or help them into getting into a job and track their performance. Because then that will become a standalone point of working out new policies in future. So that's my
I think one of the challenges that we face, I'm all for the Skill India program. I think that it's a wonderful initiative. But the world is changing so rapidly. The kind of jobs that are available keep changing. So we have to also adapt with the changing times. And this is also not just about policy and the way government looks at it, but it's also the way we look at it as citizens, how we approach the job market. There are, in the coming years, going to be many jobs which are totally redundant. And unless we tell ourselves that we're going to adapt and ensure that we get a skill set which will still be relevant, we will face a huge backlash. And this is a challenge that not just India, but all over the world we are facing, with AI coming in, with robotics coming in, with things like driverless cars, or with companies like Amazon using robots and not so many humans in their whole chain. This is something that is a very real danger the world is facing. And there is no simple solution for that. in terms of what can be done. But one of the things I know that we're doing in India is also providing a social security. Because if you have, yes, you will be skilled. Skill India is one part of the solution. But the other part of the solution is things like when you're guaranteeing a certain number of days of work, when you're guaranteeing pensions for those who are economically much more disadvantaged, you're providing things like housing. I mean, there are various ways in which this problem has to be addressed, but this is a very real challenge that we're facing. Because many of the jobs that we traditionally thought of in the coming years will no longer exist. So this is a challenge, but the solution is not very simple. I think the conversation is still ongoing on that.
A last point. So exactly, you have to be, trained in those skill sets right now. What she talked about is really right: artificial intelligence, robotics. So if you think about, okay, no, artificial intelligence in service market is going to come 10 years later. So I'll, equip myself then. No. This is the point that you should actually start training yourself. So by the time the market catches these ideas, you are ready for that. So you will not have to worry about, changing a job and getting into a new job.
So I want to leave you guys with one final question. And I want to know whether you are optimistic or pessimistic about the future of work, particularly the future of work for women in your countries.
Okay, I'm so positive about the future of work because things are evolving and we are getting more chance of participating on different areas in different places in the world. So I'm positive towards technology, but I have this fear of that if we don't work on women to enhance their skill, to enhance their knowledge on the technology, the gender inequality in the future of work might even worsen.
Positivism is definitely there in the Indian markets also, and but we need to take a few steps of how to achieve it. First, I would say is that we should have a forgiving attitude towards women. Why I say so? And as a society, we need to do it. Why I say so? Because, just give you an example. Ambition. Ambition is a very, very neutral word. It does not signify anything in itself. But the way we put it to use matters a lot. If a man achieves an accolade in his life at any point in time, society is very forthcoming. They come forward and they say, oh, I knew him since childhood. I knew he's made for this. He'll do something really great. But at the same time, he was very ambitious from beginning. But when a woman achieves something in his or her professional life, society comes forward and does it say the same thing? No. It says that, no, she's careerist. That's for the meaning that is accorded. So ambition was a neutral word, but one time it was used in a very positive sense, the other time it was used in a very negative sense. So women need to come out of that shell, and as society, which should be more respectful towards anybody's achievement, whether it's a man or a woman.
Well, I would say I'm cautiously optimistic. I think that with the advent of technology, I think that we can, which doesn't see, like I said, race or color or gender. This is something that we have never before had this opportunity to actually engage and involve in the entire workforce. But at the same time, unless we deal with the deep-rooted prejudices that we have as a society, everywhere, if you look at a woman, I mean, somebody said, instead of saying she has leadership skills, they say she's bossy or she's aggressive. If you go out and you want to get capital, like even in the social sector, I always say, you have to give us room to fail. If there isn't room for women to fail and then again stand up and go back and somebody's still out there to support her, it's going to be very, very difficult. It is an uphill battle. And I think also having our basics in order. I mean, even though I've said this a zillion times, I really believe that if we have to be having women in the workforce, we need to ensure that access to education is something that is universal. Unless there's a level playing field, having everybody part of the, the system is very, very difficult. So I hope that that happens, and I want that to start with the basics, with water, with sanitation, with access to freedom of movement. Because, I mean, just look at it. If you don't have access to a safe toilet, you will not leave your home. You won't go to school. You won't, I mean, there are so many attendant problems that come, which only women face and not men. So, and the responsibility of running a home largely falls on the shoulders of women. And I think we also harm ourselves in many ways because we're always guilty. You don't see the men doing that, right? When they go to work, they're very happy. They're not wondering, has my baby eaten? Has my mother eaten? Is the house clean? They don't have all these things. So I think we need to forgive ourselves and stop holding ourselves to such high standards. After all, we're all human beings first before you're a man and a woman. And I think we have the right to be ambitious. We should be a little less hard on ourselves. And it's okay if we can't do everything perfectly. Life is meant to be flawed, and we should enjoy the good and the bad. So, I mean, hopefully it will be, I really believe it will be a brighter tomorrow, definitely.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, we need to forgive ourselves and we need room to fail. I think that's a sort of key sort of message and takeaway. So I want to thank you guys for your views and for sharing your thoughts on sort of the barriers to access, the opportunities that the gig economy and the digital economy sort of create for women in the workforce. So thank you for joining us at our Facebook Live studio at CyFy 2019. So thank you very much for joining us. Thanks.